Las Vegas had always been a city that never slept, but at 1:15 a.m., the streets near the outskirts were a different world. Empty, almost forgotten. My name is Sarah Monroe. I'm a journalist, the kind that chases stories in the darkest corners of the world. Tonight, I was just another exhausted traveler looking for a place to rest before heading out for my next assignment. I pulled my car into a dimly lit parking lot of a rundown motel. The neon sign flickered above the entrance, spelling out Sunrise Motel, though the glow barely reached the cracked pavement below. A warm gust of desert wind blew against my face as I stepped out, carrying with it the scent of gasoline and something stale, something that reminded me of old dust and wet wood. Inside, the reception area was small and cluttered. A buzzing ceiling fan wobbled overhead, barely stirring the thick air. Behind the counter sat a man in his late 50s, his tired eyes barely acknowledging me as I placed my ID on the desk. He typed something into an outdated computer, the screen casting a sickly glow on his worn-out face. "One night, right?" His voice was hoarse, like he had spent a lifetime smoking. "Yeah, just passing through," I replied. He slid a key toward me, but just as my fingers touched it, he hesitated. A frown creased his forehead. He glanced down at something behind the counter, then without a word, pulled the key back and grabbed another one. "Take this instead," he muttered, shoving it into my hand. "Room 407. And listen, do not go near room 405. Don't knock, don't peek, don't ask questions. Just stay away." I raised an eyebrow, waiting for him to crack a grin, but he didn't. His expression was stiff, serious. "Why?" I asked. He sighed, shaking his head. "Just don't." I wasn't in the mood for ghost stories. The drive had drained me, and all I wanted was a bed and some sleep. So, I nodded, took the key, and dragged my suitcase toward my room. The hallway smelled of mildew and something faintly metallic. The old carpet muffled my footsteps as I passed room 405. I didn't stop. I didn't even slow down. But as I reached my door, I swear I heard something. A faint, scratching sound coming from inside 405. It was probably a rat, or bad plumbing, or just my tired mind playing tricks. I pushed into my room and locked the door behind me. The bed was stiff, the lamp flickered, and the air conditioner made an awful rattling sound. Still, it was a place to sleep. I set my phone on the nightstand, kicked off my shoes, and collapsed onto the bed. But sleep didn't come easy, because outside from the room next door, the scratching continued. The scratching didn't stop. I lay on the stiff mattress, staring at the cracked ceiling, trying to convince myself it was nothing. Maybe just an old pipe groaning in the walls, or a raccoon trapped somewhere inside. It was an old building. It made sense. But the longer I listened, the less sense it made. It wasn't random. It had a pattern. Slow, deliberate, like someone dragging their nails across the wall just inches from my head. Scrape, scrape, pause, then again. My breath felt heavy in my chest. I turned to my side, away from the noise, trying to shut it out, but now I could hear something else. A whisper. Faint, just beneath the scratching. It was too low to make out the words, but it was there, just beyond the thin motel wall. I sat up, my pulse quickening. My eyes flicked to the digital clock on the nightstand. 1:42 a.m. Less than 30 minutes since I had checked in. I grabbed my phone and turned on the flashlight, casting a pale glow over the room. The door was locked, the windows shut. Everything was just as I left it, so why did it feel like something was wrong? A part of me wanted to ignore it. Just sleep. But another part, maybe the journalist in me, wanted to know. Slowly I got out of bed and moved toward the wall. Pressing my ear against the peeling wallpaper, I listened. Nothing. Just silence. Maybe it had stopped. Maybe I was imagining things after a long, exhausting drive. I let out a breath and turned back toward my bed. Thump. I froze. That sound wasn't scratching. It was a knock, soft but firm. 3 knocks right against the wall between my room and 405. I stared at the wall, my heart pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat. It was late. Who the hell would be in there? The receptionist said the room was off limits. I swallowed hard, debating what to do. I could call the front desk, but what would I even say? "Hey, I think your haunted room is knocking on the walls." Another knock, louder this time. I took a slow step back. I needed to know. Just a quick look, nothing more. I walked to my door and pressed my eye against the peephole. The hallway was empty. Then, against my better judgment, I reached for the doorknob. Slowly, carefully, I cracked the door open and stepped outside. The air was still, thick with the scent of old carpet and cigarette smoke. I turned my head toward room 405. The door was shut. But the peephole, it was dark. Like someone was standing on the other side, watching. A chill ran down my spine. I backed away and rushed back into my room, locking the door behind me. I needed sleep. Whatever this was, it wasn't my problem. I pulled the covers over my head and shut my eyes. But as I drifted off, my phone buzzed on the nightstand. A notification, a new photo. When I opened it, my blood ran cold. It was a picture of me, asleep in bed, and the caption, "You're not alone." My hands trembled as I stared at the screen. The photo showed me lying in bed, my face half buried in the pillow, hair spread across the sheets. It was taken from the foot of the bed, inside my room. My heart pounded in my ears. My breath turned shallow. This wasn't possible. I had locked the door. I had checked the windows. No one had come in. I would have heard them. I darted my eyes around the room, scanning every shadowed corner, every inch of space where someone, something, could hide. The closet door was slightly open. My breath hitched. Had it been like that before? I moved slowly, gripping my phone like a weapon, and stepped toward the closet. The wooden floor creaked beneath me. I reached for the handle, hesitated, then yanked the door open in one quick motion. Nothing. Just my suitcase and an extra pillow on the shelf. But that didn't make me feel better. Someone had been in here. Someone had taken that photo. I checked the door again, still locked. The windows too. But as I turned away, my eyes landed on the air vent near the ceiling. The metal grate was loose. A shiver crawled down my spine. I needed to get out of here. Now I grabbed my bag and my car keys, but just as I reached for the doorknob, my phone buzzed again. Another photo. This time, it was a close-up of my door handle, a pale, bony hand resting on the metal. I gasped, spinning around. No one was there. I frantically unlocked the door, ready to bolt, but as soon as I yanked it open, the hallway was different. The dim yellow lighting was gone, replaced by a flickering red glow. The doors, the peeling wallpaper, even the carpet, it all looked warped, twisted, like something out of a nightmare. The air was thick with the smell of rot. My stomach twisted. This wasn't real. It couldn't be real. Then, from the far end of the hallway, I heard it. A whisper, a voice low and broken, crawling through the air like it had been trapped in this place for far too long. "Sarah." My blood turned to ice. I didn't wait. I ran. I sprinted toward the lobby, my breath coming in ragged gasps. The hallway stretched longer than before, the exit feeling impossibly far. My legs ached, my vision blurred, but I kept running. Then, a door creaked open behind me. Not just any door, room 405. A wave of icy air rushed past me. I didn't turn around. I couldn't. I slammed into the lobby door, bursting through. And suddenly everything was back to normal. The flickering neon sign, the dull yellow lights. The receptionist sitting behind the desk, looking up at me with tired, uninterested eyes, like nothing had happened. But my phone was still in my hand, the photos still there, and my door wide open, as if someone had been waiting for me to come back. I stood in the motel lobby, my chest rising and falling in quick, panicked breaths. The receptionist barely reacted, his fingers lazily tapping against the desk like he had seen guests freak out 100 times before. Maybe he had. I swallowed hard, gripping my phone so tightly my knuckles turned white. My door had been closed when I ran out. I locked it myself. Yet there it was, standing open like an invitation. The receptionist let out a slow sigh and finally looked up. "You look like you've seen a ghost." I hesitated. Should I tell him? Show him the photos? Would he even believe me? My voice cracked. There was someone in my room. His eyes flickered with something close to recognition, like he had heard this before. His lips pressed into a thin line. "You went near room 405, didn't you?" I felt my stomach drop. No, I didn't. It wasn't a full lie. I hadn't gone in. His jaw tensed, and for the first time he looked uneasy. He stood up, reaching for something under the desk, a worn-out key ring. He grabbed a flashlight, motioned for me to follow, and started walking toward the hallway. Everything in me screamed, "Don't go back there." But I needed answers. As we reached my room, the door was still open. My stomach twisted into knots. The air inside felt thick, like stepping into a space that had been sealed off for years. He shined the flashlight across the room. Nothing looked disturbed, except for one thing. The closet door was open again. I knew for a fact I had closed it. The receptionist exhaled through his nose, stepped inside, and slowly moved toward the closet. I watched as he reached out, then suddenly stopped. His hand hovered just above the doorframe, and his face went pale. Without a word, he slammed the closet shut and turned back to me. "Pack your things, you're leaving." A chill ran through me. "What? What did you see?" He shook his head. "I warned you. You shouldn't have gone near that room." I looked past him at the closet, my skin crawling. "Tell me what's going on." He hesitated, then muttered, "People who stay near room 405, they don't leave the same. If they leave at all." I swallowed hard. Who was in my room? His grip tightened around the flashlight. "If I were you, I wouldn't want to find out." That's when I heard it. A faint thump from inside the closet. I stepped back, my body going rigid. The receptionist's face hardened. "You need to go." He didn't have to tell me twice. I rushed inside, threw my clothes into my bag, grabbed my phone, and bolted out. As I hurried toward the parking lot, I glanced at my phone screen one last time. Another notification, another photo. This time it wasn't of me. It was of the closet door, slightly open, and a shadowed figure peering out. My breath hitched as I stared at the photo. The closet door, the same closet door I just saw shut, was now slightly open in the image. A dark figure stood in the gap, barely visible, like it had been watching the entire time. A cold shiver crawled down my spine. My body screamed at me to run. I stumbled out of the motel, my bag slung over my shoulder, my hands fumbling for my car keys. The parking lot was nearly empty, save for a few rusted-out cars sitting in the dim glow of the flickering neon sign. The receptionist hadn't followed me. He had given his warning, and that was enough for him. I found my car and yanked the door open, throwing my bag onto the passenger seat. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely jam the key into the ignition. Click. Nothing. I twisted the key again, but the engine refused to turn over. Just a dull, lifeless click. "No, no, no," I whispered, slamming my palm against the wheel. I grabbed my phone, my fingers moving fast as I tried to call someone, anyone. But as soon as I unlocked the screen, I froze. One new photo. My stomach twisted as I tapped it open. The image showed me, sitting in my car, from behind. My heart nearly stopped. Someone was here, right now. I spun around in my seat, eyes darting wildly across the parking lot. The only thing moving was the old motel sign swaying slightly in the breeze. No people, no shadows. But the feeling of being watched was suffocating. I hit the lock button on the doors, my breathing shallow. My mind raced. Think, Sarah. Think. The motel was sketchy, but it wasn't completely abandoned. There had to be someone else here. A guest, a worker, anyone. I needed help. I shoved my phone into my pocket and grabbed my bag, ready to sprint back inside. But the moment I stepped out of the car, tap. The sound came from behind me. I turned slowly, my entire body stiff with fear. There was nothing. Just my reflection in the car window, warped by the dirt and grime. But then I noticed something. My reflection wasn't alone. There was a shape behind me, dark, unmoving. I spun around so fast I nearly tripped over myself. The parking lot was empty. My breath came in shallow gasps. This wasn't real. It couldn't be real. I was exhausted, sleep-deprived. Maybe my mind was playing tricks on me. But then, from the corner of my eye, I saw something. Room 405. The door was open now, just a crack. And from the darkness inside, something shifted. I didn't wait. I bolted back toward the motel, my feet slamming against the pavement. I didn't care what the receptionist said. I needed help. But when I burst through the lobby doors, the front desk was empty. And the old bell that had been sitting there before, it was gone. The lobby was silent. Too silent. The old reception desk, the flickering light above it, the musty air thick with the scent of cigarette smoke, it was all the same. But something felt off. I swallowed hard, my pulse thudding in my ears. Hello? My voice sounded too small in the emptiness. No answer. The receptionist was gone. No sound of movement, no creak of a chair, no shuffling of papers. It was like he had vanished. My fingers curled around my phone as I took slow, careful steps toward the desk. The key rack behind it still hung in place with rusted keys labeled for each room, except one. 405's key was missing. I felt my stomach twist. He had it earlier. He had warned me. Had he gone to that room? Did he see something he wasn't supposed to? I needed to get out of here. I turned to leave, but the moment I did, the lobby lights flickered, then went out completely. Darkness swallowed the room. I froze, my breath catching in my throat. The only light now came from the neon motel sign outside, its dull red glow seeping through the windows. Then, from somewhere behind me, a soft creak, like a door opening. My hands clenched into fists as I slowly turned my head. At the far end of the hallway, barely visible in the dim light, was room 405's door. It was open, wider this time, and something stood just beyond the threshold. I couldn't see its face, couldn't even make out its shape properly. Just a figure, tall, unnatural, its body barely distinguishable from the darkness behind it. It didn't move. It only stood there, watching. A shudder ran through me. I should have run. I should have bolted out of that motel and never looked back. But I didn't, because my phone vibrated in my hand. A message. With shaking fingers, I raised the screen to my face. It was a photo of me, standing in the lobby. But in the image, I wasn't alone. A shape loomed directly behind me, inches from my shoulder. A dark, distorted figure with long, skeletal fingers reaching toward me. I gasped, spinning around. But there was nothing there. The lobby was still empty. My breath hitched as I turned back to the hallway. The door to room 405 was now wide open, and the figure, gone. The air was thick with something heavy, something unseen pressing against my skin. My legs felt rooted to the ground, my body refusing to move. Then, from inside room 405, a whisper, low, broken, so close. "Come in." I stumbled backward, heart hammering against my ribs. Number, I wasn't going near that room. I needed to get out. Now I turned, sprinting for the front doors. But as I reached for the handle, my breath caught in my throat. The entrance, the door I had just walked through minutes ago, was no longer there. Just a solid wall where it had been. My heart nearly stopped. The motel entrance, The glass door I had walked through just minutes ago was gone. In its place was a solid, unbroken wall, as if it had never existed. I swallowed a scream, stumbling backward. My hands ran over the rough wallpaper, my fingers pressing against it desperately. No cracks, no seams, no sign that a door had ever been there. This wasn't real. It couldn't be. I spun around, my breath coming in short, shallow gasps. The lobby was the same front desk, same flickering neon glow leaking through the windows, but I knew something was wrong. The air felt thick, suffocating, like the walls were pressing in. I fumbled for my phone, my fingers shaking as I tapped the screen. Maybe I could call someone, police, a friend, anyone. No signal, no Wi-Fi, just the dull glow of my battery indicator at 15%. Then my phone vibrated. One new photo. I hesitated, my stomach twisting into knots, but I had to look. I tapped the notification. The image loaded and a chill swept over me. It was a picture of the motel lobby. But something was different. The reception desk was empty. No papers, no bell, no computer. The chairs in the waiting area were gone. The walls looked cracked, worn, like they had been abandoned for years. And at the end of the hallway, in the open doorway of room 405, a figure stood there. This time I could see it clearer. A tall, thin shape, its limbs stretched unnaturally long. Its head was tilted as if observing me. Its face, or what should have been a face, was nothing but a void. A black, empty space where features should have been. The phone buzzed again. Another photo. This time it was a close-up of my own reflection in the window, and just behind me, that same faceless figure. A strangled gasp escaped my throat. My body moved before my mind could catch up. I sprinted toward the hallway, anywhere but here, my footsteps pounding against the old carpet. I didn't care where I went, I just had to move. Doors lined the hallway, each one identical, their brass numbers dulled with age. I reached my room, 407. But as I grabbed the doorknob, something caught my eye. The numbers were changing. 407 flickered, then shifted. The brass plate twisted, the digits morphing before my eyes. 405. My breath hitched. Number. That wasn't possible. I staggered back, glancing at the other doors. They were all the same. Every single one. 405. The entire hallway was nothing but room 405. A soft sound filled the air, scratching, slow, deliberate, right behind me. I didn't turn. I couldn't turn. Because I already knew. The door behind me, no matter which one it was opening. The slow creak of the door behind me sent a jolt of fear through my body. I stood frozen in the endless hallway of identical room 405 doors, my breath stuck in my throat. I didn't want to turn around. I knew something was standing there, watching, waiting. The scratching sound came again, closer this time, right behind me. My hands clenched into fists, my nails digging into my palms. I had to move. I had to run. But my body refused to listen. Every muscle locked in place, as if some unseen force held me there. Then, a whisper, low, distorted, crawling through the air like a shadow slithering across the floor. Sarah. A sharp, ice-cold chill spread through my spine. It knew my name. Something about hearing it, spoken in that voice, snapped me out of my trance. With a surge of panic, I lunged forward, grabbing the nearest door handle. I twisted it, yanking hard. Locked. I tried the next one, also locked. A faint shuffle came from behind me. Footsteps. I didn't dare look. I just ran. The hallway stretched endlessly before me, the dim light flickering as I moved. My legs burned, but I pushed forward, trying each door as I passed. Each one labeled 405, each one refusing to open. Then, a door ahead creaked open on its own. I skidded to a stop. My breath came in ragged gasps. The door stood slightly ajar, darkness spilling from within. An invitation. Number. No way. I wasn't going in there. But then, a gust of cold air rushed down the hallway, pushing against my back, forcing me forward. I dug my heels in, resisting, but my body moved on its own. Something was pulling me in. I gritted my teeth, grabbing onto the doorframe as I was dragged toward the open doorway. My fingers scraped against the old wood, my knuckles white with strain. Then, as suddenly as it started, it stopped. The force let go. I stumbled forward, barely catching myself before I fell. My breath came in ragged gasps as I realized where I was. Inside, room 405. The air was thick and musty, heavy with the scent of decay. The only light came from a single flickering bulb in the corner, casting long, unnatural shadows across the stained carpet. My phone buzzed. A new photo. I didn't want to look, but my trembling fingers moved on their own, unlocking the screen. The image made my stomach drop. It was a picture of me, standing exactly where I was now, but in the background, just beyond the doorway, a hand was reaching for me. Not human, not right, long, twisted, fingers stretched impossibly thin. I felt a breath against my ear, cold, rotten. A voice whispered, "You shouldn't have come here." The door behind me slammed shut. The door slammed shut with a force that shook the walls. I spun around, my heart hammering against my ribs. My hands fumbled for the knob, twisting, yanking, locked. I was trapped. A suffocating silence filled the room. The dim, flickering bulb in the corner cast trembling shadows, stretching across the stained carpet like grasping fingers. The air was damp, thick with the stench of something old, something rotting. My phone buzzed again. I didn't want to look, but my hands moved on their own, as if something wanted me to see. Another photo. My breath caught in my throat. It was a close-up of my back, taken from inches away. A chill shot down my spine. Something was behind me. Slowly, I turned. At first, there was nothing, just the empty, decayed room, peeling wallpaper, a broken chair, a mirror cracked down the middle. But then, the mirror moved. Not a reflection, not a trick of the light. The cracked glass shifted like something behind it was pushing to get out. I took a shaky step backward. My pulse pounded in my ears. Then a hand pressed against the glass, thin, skeletal, the fingers too long to be human. A low, raspy whisper slithered through the air. "You let me in." The hand pushed harder, the mirror bending, warping, then cracking wide open. A shape crawled through. I stumbled back, hitting the wall. My mind screamed at me to move, to run, but my body was frozen. The thing emerging from the mirror wasn't natural. It was wrong. Its limbs stretched unnaturally, its skin a sickly gray, its face featureless, except for a wide, gaping mouth that seemed to twist and shift as if struggling to take form. I tried to scream, but no sound came out. It reached for me. My phone vibrated violently in my hand. Another photo flashed onto the screen. This time, it wasn't a picture. It was a message. "Do not look." A surge of adrenaline shot through me. My instinct screamed, "Don't look at it." I squeezed my eyes shut. The air grew heavier. The room creaked, the walls seeming to pulse like they were alive. The sound of the scratching filled my ears, growing louder, circling me. I clenched my fists, pressing myself against the wall, refusing to look. The whispers came again, closer this time. "Look at me." "Number Sarah, look." I bit down on my lip, my whole body trembling. I wouldn't. I couldn't. Then, silence. Everything stopped. The air grew still. The scratching vanished. The room felt empty. Slowly, cautiously, I opened my eyes. The room was normal again. The mirror was back to its cracked state. The door slightly open. I didn't question it. I ran. I had to get out before it changed its mind. I ran. The second my feet hit the hallway, I didn't look back. I didn't care how or why the door had unlocked. I only knew I had to get out. My breath came in short, panicked gasps as I sprinted toward the lobby, my shoes slamming against the worn carpet. The hallway stretched longer than before. The dim lights flickered, the walls seeming to pulse like something was alive beneath them. But I didn't stop. I reached the lobby, my heart pounding as I lunged for the exit. And this time, the door was there. The old dusty glass door, slightly smudged, standing right where it had been before everything turned into a nightmare. I didn't question it. I just shoved it open and ran into the night. The cold desert air hit my face, shocking me back to reality. The neon Motel Desert Rose sign flickered overhead, casting a red glow across the near-empty parking lot. Everything looked normal. The front desk was empty, no receptionist, no sign of life. But I wasn't waiting around to figure it out. I ran to my car, my hands fumbling as I yanked the door open. My fingers trembled as I shoved the key into the ignition. Click. The engine turned over. It worked. A sob of relief caught in my throat as I threw the car into reverse, my foot slamming onto the gas. I backed out so fast my tires screeched against the pavement. I didn't care. I just wanted to be as far from this place as possible. As I sped onto the highway, my hands clenched the wheel so tight my knuckles turned white. My mind was racing. Had it let me go? Had I imagined it? I dared one last glance in the rearview mirror. The motel stood in the distance, the red neon flickering against the black sky. The parking lot was empty, but the door to room 405 was open. My breath hitched. A shape stood in the doorway, tall, thin, watching. I didn't look again. I pressed harder on the gas, the highway stretching endlessly in front of me. I didn't stop, didn't breathe until the motel was nothing but a distant blur in my mirror. Only then did I exhale, my whole body trembling. I reached for my phone, needing to call someone, needing proof that I was back in reality. The screen lit up. One new photo. I swallowed hard and tapped it open. It was me, driving, taken from the back seat. A shadow loomed behind me. Long fingers, twisted limbs, reaching. A whisper filled my ears, low, broken, impossible. You never left. The car veered. As my vision blurred, my hands shaking violently on the wheel, my breath hitched, and the last thing I saw in the mirror was room 405, waiting.